I'm going to show y'all how to wire up the 4 high mod on a GMT400 Suburban. We're going to need a relay connector, a relay. This is a 30 amp relay. See right there, 30 amp relay. I'm going to use some T-taps. I have 2, and I'll show you what those are for. A little loop to go through a bolt for the battery to get power. 3 different colors of wire. You can use 4, you can use 5, but I'm just going to use 3. And we also have a inline fuse, a 30 amp inline fuse. First thing you're going to do is actually going to unmount the headlight, taking out these 2 screws. It's going to be a 3/16, I'm sorry that's not focusing, 3/16 socket. You're just going to unscrew these real quick. They are identical, so don't worry about mixing them up. You do want to pull them both straight out. So here's one of them right here. Then the headlight should just come right out with a little persuasion. Once you have it loose, you're going to pull this guy straight back and out. Might catch on a few things, just kind of wiggle her up and down. Oh, we're almost there. There we go. And you're going to unscrew both the headlights by just rotating them clockwise. Sorry for the bump. Almost. There we go. And right out like that. So these colored wires you see here are actually what we want to use to tap into. So we have a brown wire on the low beam, and we have a green wire on the high beam once you pull back the sheathing a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to grab a tap. These little guys I showed you earlier, and we're just going to splice into each one of these. So how these guys work, if you don't know, is we're going to take this guy, and we're going to loop it around. So there's a little V-notch in there. It's going to grab on to that wire there. Sorry, my hands are in the way. And then you close it down like this. And you're going to use a pair of pliers to actually crush it down into the wire there. Just like that. And so you can see the little clip right there is actually locked in. And so now this piece is in the wire here. So we're going to do that to the other wire as well. Grab the little guy here. Align the V onto the green wire. That's the wire we want. Then close it down. Grab the pliers. And crush it down until the clip locks, just like that. So now we have 2 taps into each of these. Next, we have to figure out somewhere to put the relay. I'm thinking somewhere over here is going to be the easiest. Maybe here, somewhere close to the headlight so we don't have to run too much wire. I'm thinking right here, probably facing down so the wires face down, right past the battery. Makes the most sense to me as we're tapping into the passenger side headlight to do this. Next, we're going to have to identify where all of the pins are on the relay. We're going to use 87 to the low beam, so we need to identify that on the connector. 87 is the one that goes side to side instead of up and down. Side to side instead of up and down on all of the connectors. And that is the yellow wire here. So what we've done here is I've hooked up 87 to the signal wire on the low beam, or the wire we tapped into on the low beam, not the signal wire. And then for 86 on the relay, there you go, 86 on the relay, we've hooked up a signal wire to the high beam light. This basically tells the truck, or tells the relay, hey, the high beams are on, which then goes through powers the low beams as well. And this should mean we have low beams when we have our high beams. So that's how I've wired it up so far. If we look at this guy, we're then going to want to wire 30 to positive. And then since we've done 86 to the low beam, we're going to want 85 to ground. So I've wired up the ground to 85 right there. That ends up being the blue wire on my harness. And then pin 30 right there ends up being red, which makes sense because it's positive. That is just battery feed, basically. What you're going to want to do is you're actually going to want to put an inline fuse between the battery and the relay on pin 30. And this protects the circuit just in case something goes wrong. Headlight shorts out, something rubs up against the wires the wrong way, who knows. This just makes sure the relay here will actually pop before anything actually happens and could go wrong. So you can see what I've done here is I've removed the air box just so you can see a little better. Ground to ground. Realistically, you'd want to ground this to the body, not the battery, but I messed up and got the wrong terminals, and I don't have the right screw or the right socket to pull this guy off with me, so I'm sorry about that. This guy to the battery. This is fine. Again, we have the relay right here, so nothing will happen. So before you put everything back together, you want to test. Easiest way to test is to hop in, leave the headlight out, key in, lights on, and then when you put your high beams on, they should both light up on both sides. So low beams, high beams, low beams, high beams. Now that we've verified this works, we can put everything back together. So this is just the low beams, and then click the high beams on. This is with everything all together, and you're seeing both the low beam and the high beam come on at the same time. Low beam, all four. Low beam, all four. So here's my stock low beams going down a dark road. No street lamps, no nothing. As you can tell, I can barely see anything right now. Once this car passes, I'm going to turn around, come right back, and I'll show you with the high beams and the low beams turned on at the same time. Here's some footage with just the high beams enabled. This is with the relay removed, so the low beams are not coming on. As you can see, there is quite a bit more light. However, it's not as bright as it can get, and I'll show you in a second with the 4 high mod how much more light I can get out of this. And here it is with the 4 high mod. Notice how much more light gets thrown everywhere. I can actually see down these dark roads with no lights now. Whereas before, I couldn't see hardly anything because it felt like 2 candles right in front of my truck was all I had to see.